Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Prop Queen Pod. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in as always. This week, again, I look so shiny on here. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I think I just look a little pale. We need to make the foundation a little bit darker. Nobody cares. We're going to give out some freaking winners today. I hope you all had a profitable weekend. Happy Monday, Jessica Brand. Thanks for saying you love my hair. It is a mess. It is gross and raining here. It is June 9th, and it is 60 degrees, which, like, in the morning is fine in New York. But come on, we cannot be having 60-degree weather. I was so excited for it to be, like, nice out in summer. Great show today. We've got the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs and Troy Perlowitz of NHL.com going to join the show. Also, for the first time ever, Hakeem Prophet recommended to me a good friend of his. His name's Dream. He's on social media. Gives out a lot of props in basketball, especially the WNBA. And I know that the WNBA is something that everybody here enjoys betting on. So we are going to be doing WNBA props with Dream, and we'll talk about Game 3 of the NBA playoffs. This weekend was crazy, and I'm going to upload a few different things about, like, if you weren't watching the French Open, like, do you even like sports? Because that was, I would say, the biggest, that was the biggest story of the weekend. Just looking at some of these books, like this was FanDuel. Alcaraz was 40-1 live, down 3 championship points. DraftKings had Alcaraz at 65-1 when Sinner had match point. Look at the moms. The moms are the best. I always love looking at the moms. So I would, like, I mean, if you didn't watch that, and I feel bad because college baseball has been amazing. But if you weren't watching the French Open, like, I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm going to walk Marley. I'm going to, and I'm trying to multitask right now. That's why I'm like half in, half out. I'm trying to upload these graphics. I was going to walk Marley and I said, okay, like, Marley, we're going to go to Starbucks. We're going to get a pup cup and then we're going to go home and watch, like, the end of the tennis match. Little did I know that I had like 4 more hours to go of watching tennis. I thought after I missed the first 2 sets that I was like, damn, I missed the French Open finals. That sucks. Turns out there was a lot more time for me to enjoy, and I freaking enjoyed it. Speaking of moms, and again, enjoy the look of Alcaraz moms and Sinner's moms' faces. Remember, these guys are only like 22 and 23 years old, which is also insane. Speaking of moms, I took Marley to the vet for the first time. And I'm really bad with names, like horrible at names. Don't remember. Like, if you introduce yourself to me, I probably won't remember your name the first like 3 times you introduce yourself. However, Marley's doctor's name is Dr. Valdez. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I'm going to totally remember Marley's doctor's name because it's like Framber Valdez. Like, if you give me a sports reference, sold. So now I always remember his name. Framber Valdez. It's her. Like, it's the vet's a she, and her name's Dr. Valdez. I have no clue her first name, but I'm always going to remember her name because it's Valdez, like Framber Valdez. There wasn't a lot of baseball I watched this weekend for MLB, honestly. Like, I watched the Yankees, Red Sox. That sucked. College baseball is what I watched, and look at this. So if you like college sports, the SEC got 13 teams in the NCAA tournament, including 6 of the 7 top seeds. They will send 2 at most, which now the field's set minus the Duke and Murray State game tonight. But, like, number 4, Auburn was swept by Coastal. And here's the thing. Everyone was arguing about how Coastal, who's going into the College World Series on like a 20-plus game win streak, how Coastal deserved to be a national seed, and they didn't get it. Yet you had the SEC getting 6 of the 7 top seeds, and they're, like, not in. And the best is the line here that Zach Barnett said. That's okay, though. I'm sure no lessons will be learned in this league. We'll get 13 bids again next year. That's the SEC for you. But here's the thing. In college baseball, the difference between that and college basketball, we were saying the NCAA tournament must be dead because of what happened this year with all the top contenders and all the top seeds doing well. College baseball was not that way at all. It's been really fun to watch. What wasn't fun to watch was this yesterday. Nico Horner, I didn't record the video because of copyright, but Nico Horner got ejected yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. All he said to the ump was, you're having a really bad date so far. Like, obviously, he was pissed because of the calls at the plate. But then Chipper Jones chimes in and said, not only and by the way, Horner got ejected for saying you're having a really bad day so far. Chipper Jones, the legend, he chimes in, not only one of the worst umpires in the league for going on 2 decades, but consistently one of the most confrontational, toxic combination. This is Derek Thomas, the umpire. Like, how do you do this? Like, I know that we talk, and I'm not going to get all political here, but like, we talked about, like, everyone in the social media world is talking about how certain things in government and police and whatever get out of hand. Like, no. Umpires. They are on a power trip. Like, sorry, dude. It wasn't that bad. He's pissed off. Wasn't that bad. You're having a really bad day so far. It's like, no. We can't be ejecting people for politely saying he sucks. He isn't allowed to make it personal. He said you or your. That's against MLB rules, I guess. Get out of here. People have been ejected for way worse. We've been ejected for cursing. You can't curse at an ump. Fine. But he politely said you're having a bad day calling at the plate. People tell Nico Horner all the time he's probably having a bad day. If we could tell the players they're having a bad day, why can't we tell the umpires they're having a bad day? Let's get our stuff together. And also for anybody who drinks Celsius, this is like totally like completely out of the blue. But Emily Walden, who's a friend of mine, she covers the Tigers. She said that MLB provides a list of drinks that have been tested to not flag during drug testing. Most popular among the West Michigan players on the acceptable drinks list, C4 and Red Bull. Celsius has an ingredient known to flag as cocaine in MLB drug testing, and although it's not officially banned, it's strongly discouraged. So people, if you like Celsius, let's just get the hint right now. It's bad for you. Don't drink it. Red Bull's apparently the best one, according to Kelly in Vegas. She came off of Celsius. Kelly in Vegas was a big Celsius person for a while, but then she learned toxic, and we do not do toxicity, which is why we had a great day on the PropQueen.com newsletter yesterday. We had a day. It was a Sunday. Phillies left-hander Christopher Sanchez went over 5.5 Ks, 9 strikeouts, 7 innings against the Pirates. Reds righty Brady Singer went under his 4.5 K prop with 3 Ks and 5 innings against the D-backs. Brendan Walter, the southpaw, went over his 3.5 K prop with 3 Ks and 5 innings against the D-backs. Brendan Walter went over his 3.5 K prop with 5 strikeouts in 6 innings against the Guardians. This was my favorite play of the day. Jay's starter, Bowden Francis, went under his 4.5 K prop with 2 strikeouts and 3 1/3 against the Twins. Athletics lefty Jacob Lopez went over his 4.5 K prop with 5 Ks and 4 innings against the O's. Pacers power forward Obi Toppin went under his 10.5 points prop with just 3 points off the bench against OKC after having a 17-point performance in Game 1. Didn't buy it. OKC's Chet Holmgren finally goes over his points prop. It was too low at 14.5. It was like 16.5 in Game 1. So luckily, we took advantage of a lower number of 14.5, and he just went over with 15. Where the Prop Queen newsletter went wrong, D-backs ace Zach Allen did not go over his K prop. That sucked. He had 5. Twin starter Joe Ryan didn't go under his 5.5 K prop. He had 6. So those were 2 losers by the hook. Miles Turner did not go over his 5.5 rebounds prop in the NBA Finals. He had just 4 boards. Siakam, I think, went over again. SGA did not go under his 7.5 assist prop. He went over with 8. But what SGA did do again, like Jessica Brand said, he had the 30 points over, 40 points under again. So Jessica keeps hitting that parlay if you have that feature on FanDuel. Coming on the show now, you know that he comes on this show and gives us winners. He gives us so much information that you guys don't even know what to do with it. We have the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. It should be a good one. I mean, I don't know if it could compete with double overtime like the last game when I was at a bar on Friday night after Yankees Red Sox and thought that when I left Phillies, I was going to miss the end of the game, but decided I needed to get back to the Upper East Side because I couldn't stay in the Bronx that much longer. And I still was able to watch the end of the game at the bar on the Upper East Side. Anyway, apparently we've got action on this game being another good one with a little bit of free hockey. So let's bring on NHL.com's Troy Perlowitz. What's up?
Thanks so much for having me on. It was as a hockey fan, I don't think we could have asked for a better start to this finals. It's the hockey's been great, the results have been great. So let's keep it going.
Oh my gosh, before we get to what you're looking at for tonight, thoughts on game 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think both games have just it's remarkable to me how even the series has been. Like, right, I don't think that Edmonton or I don't think one team has completely outplayed the other. And I guess that's obvious by the 1-1 score and the fact that both teams have scored 8 goals and had 174 shot attempts, both of them literally right on the nose. So I game 2 was great. I mean, the cinema was the incredible goal from McDavid right over the Draisaitl to, that was an incredible goal. And for Brad Marchand, who was acquired by the Panthers for moments like that, for him to have that goal in that moment is just great for the sport. It's great for the game, and it's great for the fans of Florida.
How about you talking about Draisaitl and the Conn Smythe and how good a value it was, and then in game 1 he comes on right after you give it out and has the game-winning goal?
Yeah, I thought, like, I still believe if Edmonton wins the cup, McDavid will probably win the award. But I thought he was mispriced at 8-1 at the time going into the series, and that's really what I thought. For him to have 2 goals is great for anyone who jumped on that number, because there is a scenario I see if and he scored again in game 2. So if he keeps scoring at a pace that he could keep up, maybe he does sneak in there. And I do see a scenario. It's a small one that he might sneak in to win the award over McDavid, but it's going to be tough. Connor McDavid's been incredible.
Something else that Sean Michael brought up, you said Corey Perry. You said that's been money too.
Yeah, keep looking at Corey Perry because he plays with McDavid, right? Like that line combination has stayed together, and Corey Perry plays that net front role. Whether it's on the power play or at even strength. Corey Perry's not much of a skater, but if you play with McDavid and he's moving around with the puck, go to the net. That's the simple thing, and Corey Perry does that as well as anybody.
I know we had some other questions in the chat, and Troy is about to answer it because we're going to start game props. You like the game to go to OT again?
So I'm going against history here, right? Like, this is only the 6th time ever that game 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup final has gone to overtime. And the last time the first 3 games of a Stanley Cup final have gone to overtime was 1951. So I'm going against history, but I just can't ignore the fact that these two teams are so even. If you go back to game 7 of the 2024 Stanley Cup final, when these two teams played each other, the last 3 games, the score has either been tied or within 1 goal for 99.6% of the time. Let me say that again. For 99.6% of the time, the score has either been tied or one team is ahead by 1. So that's just an incredible feat. Only a 77-second span in game 1 where Florida had a 2-goal advantage. Was the game, within 2 goals. So that's just an incredible feat. I just think there's plus value on the game going overtime. I see that as very value. It would really shock me if one team just completely washes away the other. I think they've really been so even. So I see a lot of value in the plus money of the game going to overtime. And so I just think that's a good number. It's too hard to ignore.
So you think Oilers are going to be the one that if this game goes, I guess if it goes to overtime, the Oilers would then win at plus 310?
Well, I'll take them on a comeback if they win from coming from behind. The Oilers have 7 comeback wins in the playoffs so far. That's the most of any team. 4 of those, they were trailing in the 3rd period, including game 1 of this Stanley Cup final. So if there's a team that's going to come back tonight, I kind of like the Oilers. The Oilers, their best period has been the 3rd, which I guess isn't a surprise considering they were trailing in both games 1 and 2 of in period 3. So that period they've really owned the pace of play, and they've used their speed to gain an advantage. So if there's a team that comes from behind tonight, I really like the Oilers in that situation.
Then you like Panthers first of 5 shots on goal, minus 125. This is a very interesting market. How do you cap that?
Yeah, I thought that was when I saw that, I thought that was very interesting to me as well. Look, I mentioned this on my last time on here. The teams at home when you start a Stanley Cup final have so much electricity in the building, on the bench. You really want a good start. And the Panthers are a good first period team. They've actually been their best period of this series so far has been the first. They really took it to them, and eventually, after the Oilers scored 66 seconds into the game of Game 1, the Panthers had a great response and came back. They owned the pace of play also in Game 2, and they actually had they scored. They had a lead in the first period of Game 2 as well. I think they have players who they want to get the crowd on their side. I think they have a bunch of skilled players. So I like them to get to the first 5 shots on goal. And in the first period, I see them trying to set the pace of play, right? Dictate. The Oilers love to speed things up, right? They're fast. That's their advantage over Florida. They want to push play. I see the Panthers at home when they have second change, being able to dictate the pace and probably reaching 5 shots on goal first before the Oilers do.
I was looking at the chat, and Sergio, Anton Lundell plus shots on goal.
So I've loved that line for Florida. Anton Lundell plays with Eetu Luostarinen and Brad Marchand, and those 3 players have dominated their shifts. And like I said, with the series now moving to Florida, the home team gets second change. So Paul Maurice is going to be able to dictate which matchups that line plays against. And if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are split up, which is probably the right move for Edmonton to do to balance out their lines and balance out their lineups, that third line for Florida, Lundell, Luostarinen, and Marchand, probably get a favorable matchup. And you can see a lot of shots on goal from that line if they dominate their play like they have in the first 2 games.
Then Sean Michael, I'm going to turn this kind of into a question. He talks about the defensive series as we get deeper into it. How would you change your approach at looking at these games, and at what point? Because now we're in Game 3.
It's probably the one thing that surprised me so far in the series is how well the offense. I expected there to be goals, but I expected it to be goals because of shaky goaltending and shaky defensive play. And that really hasn't been the case. These goals are being scored because the offenses on both sides have been so good. And the goalies have actually played well. They're just being beat by higher quality offense. I do expect as the series goes on, that tends to happen as goals tend to dry out just because the goalies are good and offense tends to dry out. And that's, scoring goals in the NHL is very hard. And so as series go on, you tend to get more of a defensive minded series, which we saw when these 2 teams met last season in the Stanley Cup final. Overs were hitting all the time. And then the last 2 games, we're under. So I do think that we're in store for that kind of series. It's just, when does that take place, right? It could happen as early as tonight. Could happen in Game 4, could happen in Game 5. I do expect at some point for things to really tighten up and for teams to get a little bit, you really defend very well when the tide is against you in the NHL. So at some point there will be a little bit more emphasis on defense. It just depends on when that actually happens. I think it might happen tonight. I don't expect if I were to handicap this, I kind of like the defense to take over starting tonight. Remember, Edmonton, they have only lost the Game 2 was their 3rd loss since the first round of the playoffs, and they've responded in the previous 2 games with shutouts after that. So Edmonton has responded well when losing in this postseason. So I expect the defense to start picking up tonight.
Well, let's talk about some props and how we could take advantage. Even though we think some defense is going to show up, there still needs to be scoring in order to win. And Connor McDavid over 1.5 points is at -110. Why is Connor McDavid going over?
He is electric. There's just no way to explain how awesome he is. He's crushing it. So he has 23 speed bursts over 20 miles an hour in this series. No one else has more than 8. He is the fastest player on the ice by far in this series. And his goal scoring, so he hasn't scored in this series, but he does have 5 points. He has 5 assists. I expect at some point Florida has to start putting more players on him, and that he's the best playmaker in the league. He just dishes it off to a teammate for a scoring chance. He's generated 104 scoring chances in the postseason. No one else has more than 76. That's almost 30, a gap of almost 30 between him and the next closest player. He generates so much offense and draws so much attention to him that it's easy to see him. It's why over 1.5 points is still minus money. He's the only player that would even do that. I'd love to give you the value of going under with him. I just don't see it. All the trends tell me that he's going to keep scoring.
Okay. Well, I've got people here that think a parlay could be happening. Like Mark says, Edmonton money line over 6.5, game to reach OT, McDavid 2+ points, yay or nay?
I think that's the only way to value like that. That's good value, right? Because you parlay McDavid over 1.5 points. That's the way to maximize your value is to parlay that. And so I would definitely agree with that. That's where I'm leaning. I do think Edmonton wins this game. The over is what makes me skeptical. I really think at some point
you could tell people they're wrong. That's why they're asking.
I wouldn't go over. I'd go under in this game because I do think goal scoring is going to dry up. But I like McDavid to score. That one I might just switch around to an under and make it more profitable.
I love that Sean Michael said first goal bets. Ariel's going to be like shaking my head. Yeah, I don't bet these, but I think it's great value at 13-1. Sam Bennett, why is he the first goal scorer? And why do you think he'll score anyway?
So last time I was on, I don't really like this either. I'm agreeing with you. I don't like first goal scorers. I do like anytime goal scorers if I was in that market. Look, I do think Florida's going to score first. I do think they're going to have the bulk of the pressure in the first period. So that's why I'm choosing a Panther in this market. Sam Bennett leads the playoffs in goals with 13, and 12 of them have come on the road. So he's only scored 1 at home. Sam Bennett is a perfect example of how money and uncertainty can be big motivators for any athlete. Sam Bennett's a pending free agent. He's playing for his next contract, and it's no surprise to me that he's having a huge postseason because of it. He wants to make a lot more money next year when he enters free agency this summer, and he's been. I don't know if Florida is at this point without Sam Bennett's goal scoring, and something tells me he's going to keep going.
Sam Bennett, a different player in the playoffs, according to Josh Gold, absolute beast. Sergio loves your Nurse play at +1.5 block shots, but it's -168. So would you suggest parlaying that in any capacity?
I might parlay this, or I might choose a different Oiler defenseman. The reason I went with Nurse is because he's expected to get more ice time tonight. The Oilers, when they went through practice yesterday and their morning skate this morning, had moved Nurse up to that first line pair with Evan Bouchard. Evan Bouchard is an offensive defenseman. He likes to score goals. He likes to jump into the rush for the Oilers. And sometimes when he jumps into the play, like what happened in game 2, a player like Brad Marchand gets behind him and gets breakaway goals. And he had 2 of them in game 2 and ended up being the difference in the game. Moving Nurse to that pair just gives a little bit more speed behind Bouchard, so he could still stay up in the play and maybe trust his defensive partner to get back in those situations. So with the added ice time, I just expect him to be able to block more shots. Florida's a team that loves to generate offense off of their cycle. They throw pucks on net at will, and sometimes those pucks find shin pads of defenders, and Nurse he's one of the best shot blockers on the team. So I would either parlay that, or I could also choose a different defenseman. Jake Wallman is a great defensive defenseman who blocks a lot of shots as well. Brett Kulak is another option. So any of the Oilers defensemen, I really like them to go over their shot block prop.
Sean, you said a goal in the first 10 minutes at -110 is not a bad bet. I'm assuming that means for Sam Bennett to have a goal in the first, or no, just a goal in general. Sorry, he meant a goal in general. Do you like that, even though you think it'll be more defensive?
Well, I don't want to contradict myself. I was very
proud. You said this last game and it hit. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like to bet the same thing twice in a row when I hit it in the first game.
I would agree with you there, and that's exactly where I was going to go. Is because I hit it because that hit in the first 2 games of this series. Maybe I stay away from that one tonight, just because Lightning doesn't tend to strike 3 times in a row. But then again, I just picked overtime, so maybe I do see that happening. I do. The first 10 minutes, I expect the Panthers to be on the offense, right? And whether that's a goal, I don't know, but I expect them to dominate zone play and get the puck and let them try to establish a forecheck. I don't expect them to result in a goal. I expect it to result in a lot of shots. I expect it to result in a lot of pressure, but I don't know if I expect a goal to happen in the first 10 minutes. So that's when I'd probably shy away from.
Sean says that seems free. I don't know. Is anything free, Sean? Not everything's free. Come on, get out of here. It's not free. But listen, I think that it makes sense that we're going to start to see some defense prevailing in this spot. And I'm a little annoyed right now because my freaking Bluetooth mic that's what I've been distracted by, is it's dead. So I can't, I have to now reach for my freaking laptop and scroll through things.
So can I share a little story? So I ran in a race on Saturday.
Oh, what race? It wasn't the Belmont Stakes.
It was not. It was a 5K for charity in the town.
You're a runner?
I'm a little bit of a runner. I run more now than I used to, is how I'll say that. But my Bluetooth ran out 10 yards into the race, and it was annoying. It was the worst.
So you had to run with no music?
Run with no music, silence, just the sound of my footsteps. It was brutal. It was horrible.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm not going to complain about my, now I broke it. I definitely broke it. Okay. Now I just, okay, whatever. I'm a hot mess. We got the Panthers at -146, Edmonton at +122, total at 6.5. I know you already said in the game props that you do like for Edmonton to win from behind, which you're getting some really good value at. However, does that mean people should bet Edmonton money line?
I'm on Edmonton money line. I think that's a really solid play. I think this seems to me like a heavyweight fight, right? Like when those old classic heavyweight fights, when the fighters would throw a punch and expect to get punched back. This is that series for me where I think Edmonton threw a punch in game 1. I think Florida punched right back in game 2. And I expect Edmonton to come back in game 3 and punch right away. So I like Edmonton in this spot to go up in this series. But Edmonton loves to score goals, right? They like a high goal scoring environment for them to succeed. This will be a real key for me because I think that the difference from last year where they lost in 7 games and the difference to this year where I think they're going to win is I think they're versatile and they can win in multiple ways. And I like them winning in a low scoring environment in Florida tonight. So I'm on the Oilers.
Okay, Oilers win. We've got a bunch of props we just gave out. If you missed it, you can head over to the YouTube at Prop Queen Sports and watch all this back. Troy Perlowitz, where can everyone find you?
I'm at Troy_Perl, but you could also find us at NHL Fantasy on both X and Instagram. We'd love to collaborate and communicate with you.
Absolutely crushing it. Troy Perlowitz, thank you as always for coming on. I'm sure I'm going to ask you again to come on for game 4, if you don't mind.
I'm already looking forward to it. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
We love it. We love to cash the winners. Troy Perlowitz, we'll see you again soon. Good luck tonight.
Thanks. You too.
Coming up next, we've got a first-time guest. I actually have never spoken to him in real life, but when my guy, Hakeem Ski Prophet, recommends somebody to me, I know that he is not only a winner, but he's got good stuff. And Hakeem is already annoyed enough with me because all I do is ask him for what he's on, just to kind of talk things out when it's WNBA or NBA playoffs. And he's like, Ariel, I don't bet the freaking props. Enough of asking me which players you should focus on because I don't bet the props. He's like, I'm a sides guy. So here's my guy. So this is who Hakeem has told me is the guy to ask for basketball props. We've got WNBA. We've got the NBA. His name is Dream. What's up?
Hello. Wow. What a great introduction. That was amazing. Great to be here. Appreciate it. And shout out to my guy, Ski Prophet, as always, for putting in a good word. How are you?
I'm great. And I'm so excited because we've got people in the chat who tell me all the time that I need to dive into the WNBA props more. And I always just ask people who I know are good at handicapping the sport because I am not a WNBA capper. So
Yeah.
let's dive into the WNBA before we get to tomorrow in the NBA finals. First things first, we're a few weeks in. What has caught your eye in WNBA props?
Oh my goodness. Well, mostly a lot of Nafisha Collier is having a really good season. And lately it's been Aaliyah Boston, which is a really good look for tomorrow for her props. But man, the WNBA, for those who know, is just a volatile sport in general. And the props in and of themselves happen to be volatile as well. So tonight we have a game with the Golden State Valkyries going against the Los Angeles Sparks, and the Valkyrie plus 7.5. And a place that you may want to look toward that game, a couple of places, De'Erica Hamby's points. The Valkyries are one of the worst teams in the league guarding the restricted area. That's where De'Erica Hamby scores the majority of her points, and she's one of the top scorers in the WNBA from that area as well. 16.5 is a number that I would put no more than a half a unit on, because you have Rickea Jackson getting back into the fold in the starting lineup. You still have Kelsey Plum, who's a great scorer, but's been looking to facilitate a little more lately. And we'll get to that in a second. But De'Erica Hamby to score over 16.5 points would be my first look for the WNBA tonight.
Yeah, I was joking about what Valkyries meant. Like, I had no idea what the hell a Valkyrie was until last week. And I was like, let me look this up on Wikipedia. And I was very shocked because, like, what the hell is a Valkyrie? It's some, like, mystical thing. Anyway, so you've got this same game parlay that you put up at plus 202 on FanDuel. You posted it to your Twitter or X page. Got a lot of stuff here. So you've got a lot of Kayla Thornton, you got Kelsey Plum, De'Erica Hamby, Veronica Burton. Walk me through this SGP.
Oh yeah, would love to. So let's talk about it. I have this challenge that my followers love for me to do. We try to turn either $20 into 5,000 in 5 days by hitting 5 straight plus 200 parlays. We've gotten pretty close. We haven't quite been able to do it yet. It's just a little kind of a take on the whole 10-day 10K thing. So we've been getting hooked lately. The last 2 nights we've been getting hooked, so it hasn't been fun. So we decided to go a little safer tonight. So with Kayla Thornton, who's the starting small forward, power forward for the Golden State Valkyries, she's probably their most consistent player. She scored 10 points every game this season, with the exception of the first game of the season. In that game, she shot 3 of 11. She's gotten 16 and 13 shots her last 2 games, and she's coming off her easily best game of the season, where she had 22 and 11. She just played this team a couple weeks ago, had 14 and 10. In the game where she only had 6 was, again, the first game of the season. This is an expansion team, so they were trying to figure out their rotations and how they wanted to move going forward. So I think a lot of that had to do with her poor performance the first game. So that's where you get her 10 points from. As far as her 4 rebounds, she's done that in 7 of 8 games this season, and she's just coming off a triple-double. Her rebounds are pretty safe, if you want to do a parlay piece, or even if you want to take her over 5.5 rebounds today, I think that would be a good look as well. Kelsey Plum 4 assists. So that would be my second look of the day. Kelsey Plum has gotten 5 assists 6 of her 9 games this season, and her line is at 6 plus 120. If you were to go on DraftKings and maybe SGP her 5 with Kayla Thornton 4 rebounds, you can get a minus 130. I would recommend that. Or if you want to just put a quarter of a unit on her to get 6 at plus money, or even a half unit, I would recommend that. She's coming off a 9 assist game. And again, with De'Erica Hamby inside, who's a power forward / center, Rickea Jackson coming back on the wing. Kelsey Plum will get her shots, but she's going to be the lead facilitator for the team tonight. Total of 163.5, so we should get some fireworks. I like Kelsey Plum to get 4 assists probably in the first half. Veronica Burton, one of the most improved players in the league. She is having an amazing season. Flirted with a triple-double last game. I like her PRA today. It's a little tough to play her PRA. I don't have any money on her straight bet today, but I do have her in this and one more parlay. 14, 16, and 21 her last 3 games. She's gotten double digits scoring every game this season except for 2. Last game, 14, 12, and 7. flirted with a triple-double, and her usage has been through the roof the last 2 games. And last but not least, De'Erica Hamby. She was just to take the 192 plus 202. I really like De'Erica Hamby tonight. Again, it's a dream matchup for her in the restricted area. Valkyries are kind of small up front, and they lack depth in their front court. So there's your 5-leg SGP. We normally try to keep it to 2 or 3 legs for the plus 200, but we didn't have much to choose from tonight, the W. So.
Well, that's the thing I was going to ask. I know a lot of people who I really trust come on, and for Major League Baseball, which I love, they're giving out these 2-3 leg parlays now in baseball where they're eating a lot of juice, but for the most part, they're profitable because they're betting essentially on something that should be almost guaranteed to hit. I hate using the word guaranteed. So is that a very profitable way to be betting the WNBA, is to eat the juice but throw it in a parlay?
Yes, in my opinion. Now, the largest as far as juice play that I gave out this season was a minus 145, and I never try to go above a minus 140. But in the WNBA, the lines are so volatile, you kind of try to have to come in and take what you can get. So oftentimes, now, Aaliyah Boston assist lines tomorrow at 4.5, and I think that's fine. I think that's actually latterable. But if it was a line, that you thought was like a De'Erica Hamby tonight, if somebody wanted to put her 15 points in something with a Kayla Thornton 4 rebounds, then I can understand that because you're drinking the juice and you're lowering your risk some way. Now, you're adding another player into it. But if you can find something that has a hit rate of 90% to 80% this season, and you actually watch the games and you think it's a good look, yeah, by all means, do anything you can to get to the bank, because these lines, especially in the W, are sharp and they're pretty volatile.
Yeah, and listen, they might be sharp, but people are still finding these edges because as long as the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals and Major League Baseball are going on, the WNBA, they might limit you, but it's not number one on the sportsbook's priority list, so you could definitely find the edge. I'm looking at some other stuff like Indiana Fever at the Atlanta Dream tonight. The Fever's still going to be without Caitlin Clark, correct?
Yes, they're going to keep.
So how have you been playing the Fever in that way, whether it's on the opposing team against them or whether it's taking advantage of the Fever players without Clark?
Well, we know they definitely struggle without CC. They need her back really bad. She's definitely the engine of the offense. But when she's out, they tend to play through Aaliyah Boston, their star center, who was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. A lot of dribble handoff action at the top of the key or at the free throw line extended for players like Kelsey Plum to come off of a dribble handoff. So her assists are out there at 4.5. Absolutely love it tomorrow. And that's why we'll be playing Aaliyah Boston over a 4.5 assists for the Fever tomorrow facing I just had a brain fire. Who do they play tomorrow? Oh, the Atlanta. Yeah.
And then we also tomorrow have the Chicago Sky and the New York Liberty, but the Liberty are laying 16. Like I know in the NBA, we always see these kinds of lines and you're like, don't bet props. It's bad with a double-digit spread. Is it the same for WNBA?
Oh, boy. Definitely in the WNBA. Now, if I were to look anywhere for the W, especially for the Liberty tomorrow, it would be Sabrina Ionescu, because she can get hers early and often. Her 3-point line is probably at 2.5. She can do that in the first half easily or by the end of the third quarter. This is a Commissioner's Cup game, so you would think that the team needs to score as many points as possible to qualify toward the end of the Commissioner's Cup. But for the most part, it's a game you probably want to stay away from with a 16 point spread, because your Breonna Stewart's, and I'm not even sure if Jonquel Jones is going to play. She had a nasty ankle turn last game. But your starters are tend not to play as many minutes, when you got a 16 point spread, of course.
You talk about the Commissioner's Cup. For people that don't know much about the WNBA, what's the Commissioner's Cup? Like, what are they playing for? And how does that potentially change your handicap of WNBA props?
Yeah, so the Commissioner's Cup, basically the NBA stole the idea for the in-season tournament. That's pretty much what the Commissioner Cup is. It's an in-season tournament where it's based off of, how many wins you get in your conference during I think it's a 2 or 3 week period, how many wins you get when you face opponents from your conference, and margin of victory. And then it, coalesces in the tournament, and the winner of the tournament gets, I forget what it is. It may be 10,000 a player, 5,000, or maybe even 20,000 a player. But yeah, nice little incentive. And again, the way that affects the props is kind of how you've seen in the NBA season where a game may be over, but you may see a Jason Tatum in the game, up 23 with 4 minutes left, where generally they probably get him out of there because point differential matters. So,
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So at least you could think maybe we do look at some players, but again, 16-point spread, I probably would stay away from that.
Now, the thing about that is the Liberty, they beat teams so bad that they maybe up 30 with 4 or 5 minutes left, and then they're like, all right, we'll get them out of here. That's the only difference with that.
Live betting WNBA props?
Oh, absolutely love it. I'll be looking to do that tonight as well. I'll be looking to see if the Valkyrie can get down maybe double digits. I really like them. Their coach said they want to be the best defensive team in the league, and they're looking that way certain nights. So I would love for them to maybe get down to, a double-digit spread. And if so, yeah, I'd love the Valkyrie. Or even if the game starts off super high scoring and you get a total, because the totals are so volatile in the WNBA, maybe get to 171 or 170 and then come back and bet the under. That's what I'll be looking to do tonight live.
Dream, we've got the NBA Finals tomorrow. Game 3, we're split at 1 apiece. OKC finally covers their double-digit spread in Game 2. Thank goodness. I know Hakeem was really pissed off. Like, I couldn't even talk to him on Saturday morning when they lost that game. It was wild. But prop-wise, what has stood out to you through the first 2 games?
Wow. And it'll be the same place I go. The same place that sticks out to me as well. Actually, going Game 3. Halliburton. Slow starts. I think that if he doesn't hit that shot in Game 1, people are like, what's going on with Tyrese Halliburton?
Hey, I've been fading him on the road throughout the playoffs.
Oh, well, you've been printing money. Amazing job by you.
On the road, his numbers he's averaging 4 less points a game on the road this year, and that's overall.
Yeah. So I think that going home, he just had a quote where he says he has to find a way to make a bigger stamp on the game in the first half. He has to find a way to be more aggressive. I'm looking toward his first quarter points tomorrow. All right, you can play this a myriad of ways. Plus, you can play his over 4.5 first quarter points at plus money at various books. Shop around, get the
over,
best
you're
price.
Saying?
Yes, over 4.5 points, first quarter points. I expect for him to come out aggressive. Again, he's not scoring in the first quarter. He's not really even scoring until the fourth quarter of these games. They just asked him about it, and he says it's imperative for him to find a way to affect the game in the first half and for him to come out and score and be a lot more aggressive for his team. I think he comes out in the first quarter, scores 5 points. So you can play it that way. You can also go on DraftKings. You can play his 4 points, which is a minus 160. If you just want to drink the juice, you can take that. Or you can add an Indiana team total of over 101.5. Just assuming that Indiana's going back home and they're going to give you probably their best effort of the entire playoffs because, hey, it's the NBA Finals in the first ever Finals game there. So their team total of 101.5. I think that's a good parlay piece to add with the 4 assists. Or you could go on ESPN Bet and just play Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton each to have 3 first quarter points, and you'll get a minus 110. Either way, I want to be on Halliburton, and for the sake of the show, we'll take Halliburton over his 4.5 first quarter points at plus money. Absolutely love Halliburton to come out, hit a couple threes in the first quarter, and come out aggressive.
Hey, the same way throughout these NBA playoffs when everybody starts going towards like Nimbard and Naismith, and I'm like, guys, this is like a one-off. Enough. Like, we're betting unders. You got to dig, and when everyone's zagging and vice versa. I'll tell you who pisses me off, though, Dream. Miles Turner. This guy. What the hell, dude? You are literally up against Isaiah Hartenstein, who you just put double digits boards up against in Game 1. You pissed me off by going under your rebound prop in Game 2. Chet Holmgren is out there. Like, the reason I understood Turner not having a great rebounding series with Cat. He's out on the wing. He's got to defend him out there. You're not underneath enough to get those boards. But you're up against Hartenstein. Like, what the hell is going on with Turner that he can't grab boards?
Yeah, Miles Turner, he frustrates me because he strikes me. He's just a guard and a 7-foot body. Like he just acts like he has no interest in rebounding. He just wants to pick and pop another 3 on the other end. So I understand your frustration with Miles Turner.
He's so freaking annoying. Chet Holmgren also, like, I got lucky. I bet is over in Game 2. 14.5 points. Thought the number was way too low. They dropped that from 16.5 to 14.5. I'm sure it's going back up to 15.5 at least for game 3. What's going on with him? Because I thought his matchup would be pretty good for even points and rebounds.
Yeah, with Chet, to me, it's just seeming like more of an opportunity minutes. So let me pull it up, but I'm not sure if Chet Holmgren's played more than 25 minutes in either one of these games. If so, he's barely got there. And I think that's more the thing with Chet. I think it's a good matchup, whether he plays the 5 and his matchup is Miles Turner. Okay, he played 28 minutes last game. He played 24 the game before. I think that's the main thing with Chet Holmgren right now, and it could be frustrating. And Chet's more of a guy like, not that he's a role player, but he's not their superstar. Chet's more of a guy who I look to bet at home. Yesterday was a great spot. I'm happy you were able to get there because he came out like 11 points in the first half because he probably down. Yep, and then he slowed down in the second half. So it's risky, but with Chet Holmgren, I would be looking to bet him more at home. Just on the road, it's tough. I'm not sure of his minutes. I'm not sure of his opportunities. And one of these games, unfortunately, he's a big guy. He's going to get in foul trouble. So I'd stay away from Chet on the road.
Obviously, before I let you go, I have to ask about SGA. His numbers are as high as they've ever been. I saw 33.5 for game 2. Now he's going on the road, game 3. I'm sure we're seeing another 33.5 points prop. At what point do we have to stay away from SGA?
Tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry. Game 3. So it's tough asking anyone to fade SGA. That's why I love the way you just phrased it. There's nothing wrong with staying away from SGA, though.
I've been going to his assist props. I've been taking under on assists.
Okay. Yeah.
You can tell me I'm wrong, though, because I was wrong game 2.
Yeah. Well, so game 1, I think that was a great strategy. Game 2, it was tough because a lot of times these guys hear the noise. So he took 30 shots, and the people are like, well, that's too much. He's got to get his team involved, even though he tried and they really didn't do too much. So I can understand people playing his assist the next game. I would stay away from Shea. If anything, maybe take his assist again next game. But if his point prop is out there at 33, 34, 35, obviously it's Shea. He can get there. But I found something very interesting. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 30 points every game except for 4 this playoffs. 2 games, he's been under 20 points. Those 2 games have been game 3s of the last 2 series. So they start off at home, they play well or they take care of business, and then that first game on the road, whether it's, teams throwing junk defenses at him, or maybe I don't think they'll get blown out, or maybe just paying him a little more attention. He's under 20 points in game 3 against Denver and game 3 against Minnesota. So personally, I'm staying away from SGA's points. And if I'm looking to play him in any way, it would maybe be his threes because he shot the ball really well this season against Indy. And that's something that can happen really quick. He doesn't need a lot of shots or opportunities, or I would be looking toward his assists.
Jessica Brand, who's our sports betting researcher here for the show, she's been doing this thing on FanDuel where she can get SGA over 30 points but under 40, and it's plus 115 every game. What do you think if she bets it every game?
Oh, my goodness. I like that every game except for this game. See, to me, this is a classic wait-and-see game. Outside of Halliburton, it's more I just want to see how it happens because let's say OKC comes out and wins this game, Jessica, then I think that'll be because SGA is between 30 and probably under 40. But then the next game, you would probably want to stay off of that because you're going to get Indiana's best effort if they lose. You're going to get a strong effort from Indiana tomorrow, but anything can happen. After this game, and we'll see who's 2-1, we'll know exactly what we're looking at. So let's say for some reason OKC is down 2-1. Then you just got to bet SGA to holy high heck, and you don't want to take that under 40 if they lose this next game because he may score 50. Now, if they win this game, then next game, I would say maybe I want to stay off of it depending on if they were to win because maybe I don't want to say he lays back and he falls back, but I think he'll have one game in this series where he scores under 30. And I think it's like kind of trying to figure out when he has less incentive or where he has a game where he can go under the 30. I just spoke to it. I think it'll be, if anything, game 3. So I will wait and see, sit back, and maybe lay off of that this game and see where it goes. See where it goes. If OKC loses this game or it's a close game, then get back on the next game. But, I don't want to talk you off of it because I think that you're going to cash that 5 out of 6 games. So maybe, and I think the series goes 6. So maybe just keep playing it and just know that, hey, I'm going to leave here profitable regardless. I mean, that is a great strategy to cash at least 4 out of 6, and it's plus money. So you only need 3 to cash to be profitable. That's an amazing strategy. Kind of wish I would have thought of it.
Hey, there's like some FanDuel parlay that you have to have access to over here in New York. I'm sure I don't have access to it because we can't have nice things over here. Dream, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people find everything that you're up to?
Thank you so much for the opportunity and having me on, Ariel. So you can follow me on Twitter, Mr. Dreamy1, the number 1. Funny story how I got the nickname, but yeah, Mr. Dreamy1, the number 1. You can follow me on Twitter. You can also sub to my YouTube channel, which is Blunt Money Bets. Like, I'm a pretty blunt person. So Blunt Money Bets. You can sub to my YouTube channel as well. We try to stream every day there, and we talk NBA, WNBA. Again, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, listen, you weren't that blunt on this show, and I'm pretty blunt, which is why Hakeem and I get along so well, because me and him just go at it all the time. So I need to bring you on again so that I could get that side out of you. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a hard ass.
I'd love to be back. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Dream, and good luck with those bets. We'll talk soon.
All right, we'll do.
Poor Marley, she's crying in the crate. I thought if I turned on country music, she would be happy. I've been trying all different music for Marley. Tried puppy music, puppy dream music, country music. This girl just does not want to be in the freaking crate. Okay, let's get to my prop edges of the day. And wasn't Dream awesome? Dream's great. I know the chat was absolutely loving him, and I'm definitely going to try to get him back on. Hakeem's got some competition now. I'm just going to tell him he's got competition. He's got to step up his game. We haven't done a lot of baseball, so let's get to my baseball. Yandy Diaz, he's got great numbers against Brian Bayo, but Diaz also hitting .333 with 2 homers and 7 ribbies over his last 9 games. Josh Lowe hitting .412 with 2 doubles and a homer against Bayo. Jonathan Aranda hitting .417 with a double against Bayo. And Mike Trout, if Jeffrey Springs is the starter, which I think he will be, the lefty, he's hitting .444 with a double against him. Some other good matchups tonight. Shohei Ohtani gets Nick Pivetta hitting .333 with a double and 2 homers against him. But Ohtani's been struggling lately. He's 8 of 31 with just 3 runs scored in 8 games in June. See if he steps it up. Freddie Freeman also hitting well against Pivetta with a .333 batting average, 5 extra base hits, slugging, awesome, .556. Carlos Santana has good numbers against Wade Miley, hitting .467 with a double and a homer. Ian Happ, .444 with a double and a homer against Zach Wheeler tonight. Some unders, Ellie De La Cruz, he's 1 for 11 with 2 Ks against Luis Ortiz. Rowdy Tellez, 0 for 14 with 2 Ks against Merrill Kelly. Jose Ramirez hitting .133 with a homer and 2 Ks against Wade Miley. Dansby Swanson hitting .143 with a double and 15 strikeouts against Zach Wheeler. And Holman for A's today, FYI. Okay, so it's not Jeffrey Springs. This is so interesting with Jeffrey Springs recently. It's like the 3rd time that I've seen he's the projected starter and they've pulled him. I know he's struggling, but anyway, just some batters props to know for today. Some strikeout props to watch out for today. These are the 3 that caught my eye on a short slate in Major League Baseball. Starting with the Cubs lefty Matthew Boyd to go over 5.5 Ks. You had to lay. I saw this around -130 later in the afternoon, so the juice came down. Boyd's gone over 5.5 Ks in 6 of 7 matchups against strikeout-prone lineups against lefties. They're getting the Phillies tonight. Lefty starters 11-8 over under their K prop, averaging 5.5 Ks to start against the Phillies. Since the beginning of May, southpaws that went over 5.5 strikeouts, Chris Sale had 8, Jeffrey Springs had 6, Jacob Lopez had 8, Kyle Freeland had 6. So with those names, of course, I don't put Matthew Boyd in the category of Chris Sale, but Jeffrey Springs, Jacob Lopez, Kyle Freeland, Boyd is capable of going over against the Phillies. And I did see the line moving in their favor, which we'll get to in a second. Atlanta's lefty Chris Sale over 7.5 strikeouts. So I normally don't like betting high numbers, but it's a small slate. And I think for the matchup against the Brewers, it could be worth a look, or you could do one of those SGPs where you take Sale over like 7+ Ks so that you could hit on 7. But Sale's gone over 7.5 Ks in 5 of 7 starts against high K rate teams. Lefties, 11 overs, 10 unders, averaging 5.5 strikeouts a game against the Brewers. Garrett Crochet had 11 strikeouts against the Brewers on May 26th. Framber Valdez came close. He had 7 strikeouts on May 7th. So out of the last 8 lefties to start against the Brewers, only those 2 really came close. But we know Sale's in a league of his own. Maybe he's there with Crochet too, who had 11. So I would just say, like, against the Brewers lately, the numbers have been lower because the quality of pitcher hasn't been as high as someone like a Chris Sale or Garrett Crochet. Angels lefty Yusei Kikuchi over 5.5 strikeouts. Kikuchi worries me because his numbers against high K rate lineups against lefties just haven't been as great. Gone over in 4 of those 9 starts, 1 of 3 at home. But 6 of the 8 lefty starters to face the Athletics have gone over their strikeout prop, averaging just over 5 strikeouts a game. If you look at 3 of these starters, like Jesus Luzardo, Christopher Sanchez, Carlos Rodon, they've all had 6 or more strikeouts. So similar to the Brewers situation, sometimes on the strikeout prop spreadsheet, you really do have to look at you really do on the strikeout prop spreadsheet have to look at like who the pitchers are. Sorry, I was distracted by Pesci, who was saying you don't like Wheeler. No, I do not like Wheeler today, and I'll tell you why. Outside of the fact that he's getting the Cubs. So again, the strikeout prop spreadsheet on the propqueen.com newsletter, which you could subscribe to premium for $17.99 a month, and you could see the entire strikeout prop spreadsheet and it's the pitcher prop spreadsheet. So you get outs props, outs props, hits allowed, earned runs allowed, and strikeout props are all on the strikeout prop spreadsheet. Well, baseball prop spreadsheet. Zach Wheeler getting the Cubs, so he's at 6.5. I will never bet the under with Wheeler at home. So I'm not saying that I'm betting the under. What I'm saying is I'm not betting it at all because Wheeler is getting a Cubs team that's averaging 4 strikeouts a game, 26 unders, 20 overs. So unders have been more profitable against the Cubs this year. And if you're averaging under 4.5 strikeouts a game, it's low. And the Cubs are at 4.2. So that's low. Again, I wouldn't take Wheeler like under at home. I just am not going to be betting Wheeler. And then I'm going to tell you why else I don't like Wheeler today, because we've got this for our segment. Oh wait, hold on, let me get rid of this comment. Okay, I don't like Wheeler today because it is a fishy line. Fishy line of the day. Cubs, Phillies. Look at that line movement overnight. The Cubs get a 20-cent move in their favor overnight. I wouldn't say it's the fishiest line ever because it's pretty split with 55% of bets, 51% of money on Philly. So it's not that big. I usually like over 70% of action. However, Philly's offense is struggling. 5-game losing streak. They've scored 1 run 4 times. They have 24 hits in 5 games, which is a 155 batting average. Philly's lost 9 of 10 for the first time since 2019. They're splits without Bryce Harper. So they've got a winning percentage over 500, 193 wins, 135 losses with Harper. They're averaging just close to 5 runs a game with Bryce Harper. Without Bryce Harper, they're below 500, 29 and 32, averaging just over 4 runs a game. So it's like a 1 run. They're averaging almost 5 runs a game with Harper and just almost 4 runs a game without him. And again, way above 500 with Harper, below 500 without him. That's dating back to the start of 2023. Matthew Boyd has allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in 8 of his 12 starts, not walking that many batters. And the Cubs bullpen's doing well. Pomeranz, Keller, Thebar, they're riding these scoreless streaks right now. So with the Cubs bullpen pitching how it is, with Boyd pitching how he is, with this line movement moving 20 cents against the Phillies at home and Wheeler at home, I would just tell you to be extremely careful of the Philadelphia Phillies, because when I see a line move 20 cents or more against an ace at home, it typically means they lose. Anyway, now it's time for my Royal Lock. Back to the strikeout props. Matthew Boyd to go over his 5.5 Ks. It's a number that Boyd's gone over in 6 of 7 matchups against strikeout-prone lineups against lefties. That includes a game like the Dodgers, who he went over with 7 strikeouts in 6 innings. Lefty starters, 11 of the 19 faced have gone over their strikeout prop, averaging 5.5 Ks a game against the Phillies. Since the beginning of May, when you look at other southpaws that went over 5.5 Ks against the Phillies, like Chris Sale, Jeffrey Springs, Jacob Lopez, Kyle Freeland, Matthew Boyd's capable if Springs, Lopez, and Freeland can go over. So I'm going to take Matthew Boyd over 5.5 Ks as my Royal Lock of the day. You guys are all my Royal Locks of the day. I'm so glad that you all tuned in. We had some great guests. We had Troy Perlowitz of NHL.com give us some game props and player props to go with Stanley Cup Finals Game 3 tonight. We've also got Dream on the show. He came on and gave WNBA props. He gave out NBA Finals props to look ahead to tomorrow. If you missed any of it, you could go and look at the show on the Prop Queen Sports YouTube page. Subscribe, like, thumbs up, whatever it is. It really helps, because if I don't start getting paid for this show, it ain't happening anymore, people. I need to get paid for this show, so we got to make it look good to the people that will pay. Yeah, now I got to go save my dog, who always hates when I'm on the show and she's in the crate. Thank you, guys. Good luck with your bets. I will see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time.